Hello EFD squad and welcome back to the UCL review where me and Joseph look at Europe's creme de la creme. Didn't do yesterday's games because what was the point? 2-0 bore draws. But we're back with a bang and some goals, baby, in this game. Not week, because they're part of the same week, but day.
Yes.
I guess yesterday. Starting with Schalke versus Manchester City.
Yeah, Manchester City ran out 3-2 winners coming from behind with 10 men at the Veltins Arena. It kind of continues City's fairly poor record, defensively anyway, in the Champions League so far this season. They've now conceded at least 2 goals in 6 of their 7 knockout stage games under Pep Guardiola. That is not good enough to win a Champions League. They need to tighten up at the back. But 18 minutes into the game, I was thinking to myself, this is going to be a standard City whitewash. Some terrible defending by Schalke allows David Silva to nick in, squares it to Sergio Aguero, 1-0 18 minutes. I was thinking, this is going to be 3 or 4. You know, David Silva as well, a slightly surprising stat. That was only his 2nd assist in this year's Champions League. That's the joint highest he's ever managed in the competition.
For Manchester City, yeah.
That's a bit of a surprise for me because he's obviously such an elite creator most of the time. But since the start of last season, only Cristiano Ronaldo has scored more away Champions League goals than Sergio Aguero. His record in the competition is frightening, isn't it? 36 in 56 for the Manchester side. But despite that positive start, Sergio Aguero scoring in the 18th minute, like I've already mentioned, City then gave away 2 penalties. Questionable ones.
Clang.
Because one was given by VAR, and a bit of a dodgy VAR because the technical aspect wasn't working. The screen on the side wasn't working, meaning it took over 4 minutes to make the decision. And even when it was made, highly controversial. I personally didn't think it was a penalty. I don't think he's got the time to retract his arm. He's trying his best, but the ball's hit like a rocket. I can see why it's given, but it's such
Isn't the
an
rule
opinionated
now
decision.
Intentional or unnatural?
Yeah, and I think he's trying his best to withdraw it. You can see when it hits it, his body, like, it's so harsh to give that as a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, that age-old adage of it looks a little bit more cynical in slow motion, but he is slowly withdrawing the arm, and I do feel for Otamendi because he is the sort of player you think would do that on purpose.
Yeah, I'm not too sure whether handballs like that should be replayed in slow-mo. I think you've got to have the full speed to realise the speed of the ball hitting the arm. It's harsh to play that back in slow motion because it looks worse than it is. The second one, I think, was a definite penalty. I think Fernandinho, not deliberately, but did trip Sane in the box, and it had to be given as a penalty. And obviously, Bentaleb stepped up, one of the most elite penalty takers in the whole of Europe. Quite frankly.
The Algerian Graham Alexander, mate.
Kieran actually going into this in the office yesterday said if Schalke score, it will be through a Bentaleb penalty. And he was 100% correct. 2 out of 2, meaning he's now got 14 out of 14 for the Algerian. Just world-class penalty taker. And at that stage, 2-1, I was thinking, bloody hell, City, another slip up in Europe. They did it against Lyon, and surely not against Schalke, who are like 14th in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, I don't know how much Tedesco paid Mystic Meg before this game for those 2 penalty goals, because they do struggle to create clear-cut chances, don't they, on the attacking end. And Manchester City created 10 in the first 45 minutes alone to the home side's 1. 1 solitary clear-cut chance aside from those penalties. So they weren't very incisive whatsoever. They were dominated possession-wise as well. City had 68% in the first 45. So the fact they went in 2-1 up at half-time, I think Tedesco would have been rubbing his mitts.
Lucky.
But on 68 minutes, it gets even worse for Manchester City. They go a man down, don't they? Otamendi receiving that 2nd yellow for a rough tackle on the halfway line. Schalke counter-attack.
Thick.
Deservedly so, yeah.
Only way to describe that tackle is thick. He's already on a booking.
Not with 2 C's either.
Probably shouldn't have got the yellow for the handball, but equally, if you're on a yellow and the striker has his back to goal on the halfway line, do not go through him. Just hold off and usher it, like jockey him. For God's sake, don't lunge in.
We know City play a high line, but Aymeric Laporte was on hand, wasn't he? That was actually Otamendi's first red card for Manchester City, which is
crazy.
So surprising in 161 appearances. But the Light Blues rallied and Pep made a very astute double substitution, didn't he? So the talisman Vincent Kompany, the diplomat, he came on for Silva, and Sane, the game changer, came on for Aguero. And I believe Aguero is regularly substituted, despite Martin Keown saying,
Martin Keown said,
that's odd.
Martin
He's
Keown
literally come
in
off in 17 of his 21 appearances.
Yeah, said, you never really see that.
His last 21 even.
Blasphemy, mine.
But Pep, no doubt delighted the impact his subs made, and with his team's mindset in general, because he's been challenging them to be a little bit more ruthless in the Champions League away from home. Like you've said, conceded sloppy goals in the last 2 or 3 campaigns, and they'd actually lost 5 of their 8 Champions League knockout games away from home. The last 2 victories coming against Kiev and in 2016 and Basel in 2018. So not exactly high caliber opponents, and the opponents you meet maybe somewhat fortunately when it goes down to the last 16 and not from there on in. But they do tend to fare well against German opposition. They've won 6, only lost once, and that was a 1-0 away defeat to Bayern in September 2014 when Pep was at the helm. But it was a German who stepped up here for them,
Outrageous.
and he did it with aplomb, an absolute ping panther. It was unreal.
It is outrageous. I mean, the movement on the ball is just mind-blowing, and you've got to celebrate, Leroy. I know that you're a Schalke boy at heart, but you've got to celebrate when that hits the net. Bloody hell, my head would have been off.
He, clean off. He did a little fist pump, didn't he? And then he was quite respectful to the crowd, and he got a pretty respectful. When he came onto the pitch, he got a pretty respectful
I'd have been sliding all over the place, heads falling off.
I mean, he's in great form. We put out a winners and losers on Monday saying, is he the most underrated player in the Premier League? And his stats do suggest that he is Pep's secret weapon this season. So that was his 8th goal involvement in his last 7 appearances, 3 goals and 5 assists. And then, when your goalkeeper's stepping up and getting assists, you're probably going to get something out of the game, aren't you? Ederson grabbed his 2nd assist of the season. That's 2 more than Jorginho and 2 more than Fred.
Can I just say, though, to the people who are like, he just lumped it, put some respect on the name of Ederson. That
Sterling goes, doesn't he? Sterling looks
incredible.
Up and then he goes.
It's one of the best passes you'll see all season. It's right into his feet. Like, people are just like, it's just a long goal kick. It's not a long goal kick. It's a pass over the top. No goalkeeper can even attempt that ball. He kicks the ball so far.
Yeah.
So far.
Just kicks his skin off it, doesn't it? It's unbelievable. It's got the kick of a bull. But Raheem Sterling obviously latching onto the end of that little beast that he is, just kind of the defender bounced off of him, and then he took advantage of some very suspect positioning from Schalke's captain Farman to score his 2nd goal in the UCL. And I think his highest return in Europe's elite competition is 3, so on track to match or beat that. He now has 15 goals and 10 assists across the course of the season.
It's not bad, is it? And also, do you know what? I read a statistic that
Sterling,
since the start of last season, I think he scored 12 goals in the 80th minute later.
Match winner.
8 of them have won games for Man City. It's absolutely incredible.
Unreal. But how far can Manchester City get? They need to tighten up that defence. Guys, I think it's going to be a shutout in the return leg, don't you? Get your score predictions in the comments below. Moving on to the 2nd game.
The other game that happened last night was Atletico Madrid versus the Italian champions Juventus. What happened, Hamill?
Well, Atletico, pretty cagey game and a bit of a late flurry, but they beat Juventus 2-0 at the Wanda Metropolitano Stadium, didn't they? And they've never lost a knockout stage game at home under Diego Simeone. What a record! Just a bunch of warriors. You see how long those players have served under Simeone in that team, how long they've played together, and it becomes clear as to why, they're just after every tackle, aren't they? After every loose ball. They're just playing for each other. Great to see. So the record stands like this. Played 16, won 12, drawn 4, lost 0. Yet again, in large parts, it was their defence to the rescue, as both Godin and Jimenez shone in this game. Godin, 4 ball recoveries, 100% tackle success rate, 1 block and 1 goal. And I didn't see that it caught Ronaldo at first, and I thought it sort of decanioed it straight
Suspicious own goal.
To a very small window, but yeah, it came off Ronaldo's back, didn't it? So a little bit of luck there. Jimenez, 8 interceptions, 2 tackles, 3 blocks, 1 goal, and a man of the match performance from him, finding the goal after that chaos that unfurled in the box caused by Morata. You're going to touch upon the effect he had coming into this game, because he was very useful when he came on, an absolute handful for that Juventus defence. Atletico have now kept 3 clean sheets against Juventus in the Champions League, so becoming their booby team, and their defensive record in the knockout stages since 13-14, 12 clean sheets.
Obscene.
Only Real Madrid have more, and you know,
and they've got to 5 finals.
That shows, doesn't it? Yeah,
4 finals.
They have won a shed load. Also helped by the outstanding Jan Oblak. Just consistently brilliant, is he? He's kept 22 UCL clean sheets since his debut, the most of any goalkeeper in that time. So if they get past Godin, if they get past Jimenez, they've got big Jan to face up against, and it normally goes his way.
Yeah, I mean, one of the saves off the Cristiano Ronaldo hit a free kick in this game, and it went like a rocket.
Yeah.
Absolute. It was rising still, and the save was superb. But this one was a close game. Like you said, a flurry towards the end, but Juventus had more possession, they had more shots, but they just weren't really clinical. Atleti were quite clinical in the box, weren't they? XG had it down closer to a draw, 0.8 to 1.1, actually in Juventus' favour, which was a bit of a surprise for me. But there's some great goalkeeping on show as well. Szczesny produced a world-class save to deny Griezmann, tipping it onto the bar. Like we've already mentioned, Jan Oblak denying Cristiano Ronaldo too. And I think it was Bernardeschi when Ronaldo cut a ball back and he saved it from a free kick. That was really smart play by Juventus. But it could have been worse. It could have been 3-0, because there was another VAR decision in this one, wasn't there? Very controversial on Alvaro Morata.
The poor bloke, zero luck whatsoever.
Personally, I didn't feel like this one was correct either. I feel like Chiellini dived. Alvaro Morata does touch him slightly, but there's nowhere near enough contact to send him to the floor. I think he misjudges him. How's Morata going to jump
without that movement? It's like a fucking penguin.
I think there is contact, but there's not enough for it to be a foul. I think people get into a weird headspace with football that you're not allowed contact. It's a contact sport. You can put your hands on people. Doesn't mean everything's a foul.
Yeah, as soon as we're in the penalty area, things are getting a little bit too, protective, aren't they?
Yeah, I completely agree. Did you think it was a foul on Chiellini by Morata? Voting the poll up there as to whether VAR got the decision right or wrong. But it's not a great sign for Juventus. They've been eliminated on all 4 occasions when losing the first leg in the UEFA Champions League knockout tie. That is not good signs. But it was Cristiano Ronaldo who still made headlines after the game, didn't he? Because of course on the pitch, giving the Atletico Madrid fans the 5-finger salute, and then in the press conference afterwards, walking past the mix zone saying Cristiano Ronaldo has 5 Champions League, Atletico Madrid have 0. Let's roll that little clip right now.
Mira, justo, ahora te lo digo, entrenador, está volviendo otra vez, gira la mano.
So I think the question everybody's asking is, have Juventus now wasted 100 million euros on Cristiano Ronaldo if they don't progress deeper than this in the Champions League? Because they bought him to win Champions Leagues.
They did. And he has been absolutely phenomenal domestically. I think he's been involved this season in 30 goals in all competitions, and the next closest to that for Juventus is Mandzukic on less than half. I think it's 14, closely followed by Dybala. I think Ronaldo is actually responsible for around 50% of Juve's domestic goals, so carrying them on that front. So maybe he's had a bit more responsibility in Serie A than he envisaged. Maybe they've not been able to rotate him as effectively as Allegri thought at the start of the season, when maybe he thought, I can rest Ronaldo, we can bring Dybala in, we can bring Mandzukic in, and still coast in Serie A. They've not been coasting in Serie A, have they? A lot of hard-fought victories, although fortunately for them, Napoli, Inter Milan, not exactly hounding them down like years gone by. So there's been a bit of daylight there. Cristiano Ronaldo, 1 goal in the Champions League. Numbers haven't really dropped off this year. Like you said, 7 shots against Atletico Madrid, 7 shots against a very defensively astute, disciplined side would suggest he's still able to do what they bought him for. And he'd probably still be able to carry that form into next year. Father time not really affecting him. So they'll be very disappointed
Yeah.
Because in order to regain a lot of that cash, a lot of that money they invested in his wages as well, they need to get to semi-finals, finals, don't they?
Yeah, I agree. But I do think, judge him at the end of his Juventus spell. If he hasn't won a Champions League with Juventus at the end of his spell in Italy, then you can say it's been a waste. This is a guy who could well win it at 37, in my opinion. That is how good he is physically.
Imagine that dictating how people view your success at a club. Like, it's become almost expected for you to win a Champions League every other year. Ridiculous.
He is that good. But he is still dominating domestically. So it is an interesting debate. But we want to hear from you guys at home. Do you think Juventus have wasted 100 million euros on Cristiano Ronaldo if they do indeed drop out of the Champions League? Vote up in the poll right now to decide.
So that's that on UCL review for another couple of weeks. We'll be back in early March with a couple of mouth-watering ties, including that return leg, PSG versus Manchester United. Can Ollie's men dig themselves out of a hole?
Probably not. But if you enjoyed this video, why not come over to Football Daily and check out me and Christopher Hamill on Hot Takes, taking on your spiciest opinions.
Oh yeah, like and subscribe, leave a comment, get at us on Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. Goodbye.